I'm Detective James, and this is the cases the news forgot. Let me tell you, friends, about the kind of calls that change a man. I've been a detective for 30 years, and I thought I'd seen everything that could happen between point A and point B on a dark stretch of road. But this case, which started with a simple traffic stop in the loneliest part of Texas, reminded me that the universe has no respect for paperwork. The man involved was a Texas Highway Patrol officer named Reeves Mallory. Mallory was working the stretch of US 281 between Falfurrias and Alice, a corridor so empty the mesquite scrub is your only company. It was 3:00 a.m., deep summer, 90 degrees in the dark. He was running a routine shift, the kind you thank God for, until he saw an old primer gray Chevy pickup truck heading south. It was moving too carefully, 64 in a 65 zone. When Mallory ran the plates, the system spat out a history that made no sense. The truck, a 1974 C10, was reported stolen in 2004, recovered and destroyed in 2006. Right there, the man was looking at a truck that shouldn't exist. He hit his lights, and the driver pulled over immediately, perfectly, which Mallory noted was the first real warning sign. People who stop that clean are usually pros. He called it in, a traffic stop at mile marker 73, plates showing irregularities, specifically a vehicle stolen and destroyed 16 years ago. He waved off backup, thinking it was just a bad data entry. The driver, a man in his mid-40s, handed over his license and registration before Mallory even asked. License for Calton Red, registration issued in 1998, already 26 years out of date. "Where are you headed tonight, Mr. Red?" Mallory asked. "South, just south." The man's voice was flat, his eyes blank. He was compliant, precise, and passed the field sobriety test too perfectly, moving with an unnatural, mechanical smoothness. Back in his cruiser, Mallory ran the name. Dispatch came back with a chilling flag on the file: deceased. Calton Red had died on August 12, 2004. The truck was reported stolen in 2004. The man standing outside Mallory's cruiser, looking very much not deceased, was operating a vehicle that should have been scrap metal, with paperwork 26 years old, and claiming the year was 2004. When Mallory asked where he was going, Red struggled, then said, "I don't think I can go home. I don't think it's there anymore." That's when Mallory made his first mistake. Instead of arresting the man, which would have been the sensible by-the-book move, he told him to drive, that he would follow him. He wanted answers, and he got something far stranger. For 10 minutes, they drove south. At mile marker 59, the old gray truck's tail lights flickered, not like a bulb dying, but like a glitch, like the whole vehicle was losing signal. Then Mallory's dash cam and body cam died instantly. And then the truck was gone. Not quickly, not like it accelerated away, just instant. 1 second, tail lights. The next, empty highway. Mallory slammed on his brakes. The radio was dead. He got out, stood in the total silence, and walked the highway looking for tracks. Nothing. Then he heard it. The rough idle of that old Chevy engine starting up behind him. He spun around. There it was, sitting on the shoulder at mile marker 73. Hazard lights blinking just like when he first pulled it over. It was empty. He keyed his mic, and the radio suddenly worked. Dispatcher Nina came back immediately, asking why he'd stopped checking in. Mallory explained the drive south, the disappearance, and the impossible return. Nina had no idea what he was talking about. "Mallory, the last transmission I have from you is from 17 minutes ago when you called in the initial stop at 73. Nothing since then. According to the official record, according to the clocks, no time had passed. The entire 10-mile, 20-minute pursuit had happened in 0 seconds, but there was the physical evidence. Sitting on the passenger seat of the impossible truck was a flashlight. Mallory's flashlight. The one he was holding in his own hand. 2 identical flashlights, both real, both his, existing at the same time. Backup arrived, and the department did everything right, cataloging the truck, the plates, the Polaroid, and the impossible duplicate flashlight. But the surveillance footage told the story. Both the dash cam and body cam files were not corrupted, but perfectly cut after 17 minutes. A clean stop just when the real events began. Mallory passed every psych and medical evaluation, but they put him on a different sector. The truck was eventually crushed and melted down, but it didn't matter. Mallory never saw Calton Red again. The man was dead, the truck was an anomaly, and the flashlight was a paradox. Mallory was left with the inescapable truth that for 17 minutes on US 281, he had stepped outside of time and encountered something that was fundamentally, impossibly wrong. And that's the thing about this job. Sometimes the strangest crimes aren't about who did it, but about how it was even possible. I kept the duplicate flashlight. It sits in my gear bag now, right next to the original. Sometimes I take them both out and look at them, trying to find some difference, some sign that one is real and one isn't. But there is no difference. They're both real, both impossible. 3 months after it happened, I was back on the highway working a day shift when I got a call about an abandoned vehicle, old pickup truck, gray, sitting on the shoulder with the engine running and nobody inside. I drove out there with my heart in my throat. It wasn't the same truck. This one was a Ford, newer, belonging to a rancher who'd simply walked away to check his fence line. A simple explanation, nothing strange about it. But for those 5 minutes between getting the call and arriving on scene, I was back on US 281 at 3 in the morning, watching taillights flicker and disappear, feeling time fold in on itself. I still work for the Texas Highway Patrol, still pull over speeders and check licenses, but I don't work nights anymore. I can't bring myself to do it. Sometimes, when I'm driving home after shift, when the sun is going down and the heat is still rising off the asphalt, I see them. Old trucks, mostly gray or rust-eaten, driving just under the speed limit, being too careful. And I let them pass. I watch their taillights disappear into the distance, and I don't follow. Because some stops aren't meant to be made, some vehicles aren't meant to be pulled over, and some moments in time don't want to be remembered, don't want to be recorded, don't want to exist anywhere except in that space between one heartbeat and the next, where the cameras stop working and the radio goes dead. I still have the Polaroid. It's in my glove box now. That picture of young Calton Red standing beside his truck in 1998, smiling like he had his whole life ahead of him. Sometimes I look at it and wonder where he was going that night, where he'd been going for the last 20 years, driving the same stretch of highway over and over, stuck in some loop he couldn't break free from. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder if he's still out there. Still driving south on US 281, hands at 10 and 2, speed exactly 64 in a 65 zone, waiting for someone to pull him over, to tell him what year it really is, still waiting for someone to help him find his way home. The FM roads in West Texas are a different kind of lonely, not like the interstate where you have other traffic. Out here on the farm to market routes, you can go hours without seeing another soul. Just you and the mesquite and the oil pumps nodding their heads like they're agreeing with something you can't hear. I'm Detective Dune Huxley. I was with the Texas Highway Patrol for 11 years, working the territory between Fort Stockton and Marathon. It's mostly ranches and oil fields, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone and strangers stick out like blood on white paint. It was October, about 10 at night, and I was running patrol on FM 23. Around a quarter mile ahead, I spotted the hazard lights, a dark sedan, just sitting on the right side of the road. I slowed down and called it into Morton, the dispatcher. Negative on backup, I told him. Looks like a simple breakdown. I pulled up behind the car, a dark blue Honda Accord, maybe 5 or 6 years old. No visible damage, no flat tires. I approached the driver's side, flashlight up, and the car was empty. Keys in the ignition, engine off. The door was unlocked. When I opened it, I immediately smelled something off. Not decay, but wrong. Chemical, almost like hot electronics. The interior was clean, almost too clean. No trash, no personal items. I checked the glove box, registration and proof of insurance, both current. When I shined my light on them, that's when I saw the date. The registration showed an expiration of October 2006, 2 years from now. The issue date was October 15th, 2024, which was yesterday. The car had been registered yesterday for a period that extended into a date that hadn't happened yet. I checked the insurance card. Same thing. I was standing in the middle of nowhere, holding documents dated for tomorrow and beyond, looking at an empty car. The owner was listed as Michael Torres, address in Alpine. I called it in. While I waited, I searched the trunk and the rest of the interior. Spotless. Under the seats, I found something truly odd. A receipt from a gas station in Marfa, dated October 16th, 2024, the day after tomorrow. Morton came back on the radio, confirming the plate belonged to Michael Torres, but noted the registration had just been filed that morning and there was no prior vehicle history. Brand new car, registration from tomorrow, receipt from the day after tomorrow, sitting empty on a remote road. Morton tried calling Torres. It went straight to voicemail. I decided to have it towed. Virgil Boone, the only tow service for 50 miles, showed up in his flatbed. He wasn't happy about being roused for a sedan until I showed him the registration and the receipt. His expression went from annoyed to confused to concerned. "These dates are wrong," he said. We both knew it wasn't a printer error. As Virgil secured the Honda, we both stopped. "Dune, you hear that?" I listened. Then I caught it. A metallic sound like a car door opening, the particular creak and click of a latch releasing. The Honda's doors were visibly shut, locked, and not moving. The sound came again, every 30 seconds or so, from the darkness west of the road. Car door opening, car door closing, too regular to be natural, too consistent to be coincidence. We finished securing the car, and Virgil drove toward the impound lot, with me following. I searched the car one more time when we unloaded it, confirming the same clean interior, the same chemical smell, the same impossible dates. I locked it up and headed to the Saguaro Motor Inn, the only place open. The desk clerk, Elsie Moran, had a strange story. About a week ago, a guy had checked in asking about that same stretch of FM 23. He claimed he was a researcher studying anomalies. She checked her logbook. The name was James Cordero. The next morning, I went back to the impound lot. I looked through the windows one more time, and that's when I saw it. A phone, partially hidden on the passenger seat. I reached in and grabbed the iPhone. I pressed the power button. The screen lit up, showing a lock screen photo of a man and a desert landscape. The timestamp in the corner showed 3:47 p.m. October 16th, 2024, the day after tomorrow. I backed it. By the time we got the warrant and accessed the phone 3 days later, it was October 17th. We were now in the future those documents had described. The phone confirmed the owner was Michael Torres. The last messages on the recovered phone showed a conversation with someone named Elena, dated October 16th, just 2 days ago from our perspective. But that date had been in the future when I found the phone. The messages were strange. Elena asking where he was, Michael saying he didn't know, that something had happened to his car, that he was trying to figure out where he'd ended up. The last message from Michael, sent at 9:23 p.m. on October 16th, said, "The dates are all wrong. My phone says October 16th, but that hasn't happened yet. I'm still on 23:15, but everything's different." Elena's response, sent 30 seconds later, "Michael, this isn't funny. Where are you? I'm calling the police." I put out a missing persons report for Michael Torres. His apartment in Alpine was empty. No signs of struggle, no indication he'd packed, just no Michael. His car, a dark blue Honda Accord, he'd left in 3 days prior, on October 14th, saying he was going for a drive to clear his head. I went back to FM 2315 3 times over the next week. Nobody had seen Michael. Nobody had seen his car before I found it. But on my third trip, around 10 at night, I heard it again. That metallic creak and click of a car door opening and closing coming from somewhere west of the road. This time, I decided to check it out. I walked into the desert, following the sound. The terrain was rough, but the sound kept repeating, always ahead of me. Then I saw it. Not a car, but a shimmer in the air, like heat distortion, except it was night and cool. The shimmer was roughly car-sized. Every 30 seconds, the door sound would coincide with a pulse, and the shimmer would intensify. I approached slowly. When I reached out, my hand passed through the shimmer, and everything went cold, a vacuum cold, an absence of heat. I pulled my hand back, and the shimmer pulsed again. In that fraction of a second, I saw it clearly. A dark blue Honda Accord, solid and real, parked in the desert. Michael Torres was sitting in the driver's seat, looking at his phone, confused. Then he was gone, replaced by the distortion. I backed away and called in 2 veteran troopers. They saw the shimmer, heard the sounds, felt the cold. We documented everything: photos, videos, measurements of the temperature drop. The only explanation that fit was that Michael Torres had driven onto FM 2315 and ended up displaced, not in space, but in time. His car had started showing up before it was supposed to, and now he was stuck somewhere between October 14th and October 16th, driving an endless loop on a road that existed in multiple timelines. 3 months later, I got a call from Elena. "Officer, I've been getting messages from him." Not new messages, but texts dated from October 16th, arriving now in January. They had been traveling through time, slowly catching up to the present. The last message, received that morning, said, "I can see other cars sometimes. They drive right past me, but they can't see me. I flash my lights, I honk my horn, but they keep going. It's like I'm not really here anymore, like I'm a ghost on a road that forgot I exist." I went back to FM 2315 that night. I saw the dark blue Honda again, hazard lights flashing. I slowed down, started to pull over, and it vanished. I stopped, called out Michael's name. No response, just wind, darkness, and the faint sound of a car door opening and closing somewhere in the distance. The investigation was officially closed, but I know where he is. He's still out there, still driving FM 2315, still trapped in that space between October 14th and October 16th. And every time I drive that road, I look for him, hoping the timing will line up, hoping he'll flicker into existence at exactly the right moment so I can pull him back. But I don't think that day is coming. I think some roads don't lead anywhere anymore, and some people slip through the cracks in time. I keep his phone in my glove box, and I wonder what he's seeing right now. If he knows he's been driving for months in a time period that only lasted 3 days. If he knows that everyone else has moved on while he's still stuck there, still waiting for someone to see him. The thing about FM roads in the Big Bend region is they're not really meant for through traffic. If you're on one and you're not local, you're either lost or running from something. My name is Detective Tavern O'Shea. I was working a late shift on FM 169, about 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., patrolling a stretch of absolute nowhere. Around 11:30, my radio crackled to life, not with dispatch, but a direct emergency call. A woman's voice, shaky and scared. "Please, someone, anyone, if you can hear this, I need help." I grabbed my mic. It was Honora Pell, driving a white Subaru. She was broken down on an FM road somewhere west of my position. "I saw someone in my headlights," she whispered. "They were walking toward my car, but then they started walking backward away from me. But they were still facing me, walking backward into the dark. I don't understand what I'm seeing." I told her to stay calm, stay locked in her vehicle. I started driving west on FM 169, telling her to keep talking. She described the figure again, walking backward, arms at its sides, moving perfectly smooth and fast, too fast. I drove 12 miles, no sign of her. Then her voice came back, urgent. "It's back! The figure! I can see it in my rearview mirror. It's standing behind my car now." I pushed my cruiser harder. She described the figure as tall, really tall, with arms that were too long. "It's right behind me now. I can't see it in the mirror anymore because it's too close." Then, the worst part. It's at my driver's side window. I can hear it. It's tapping on the glass soft, like it wants me to look. Then the radio went dead. I called dispatch, reporting lost contact, suspicious person approaching. They mobilized the nearest deputy, who was 70 miles away. I drove until FM 169 ended. Nothing. 5 miles up the connecting road, I saw fresh tire tracks leading off the road into the desert. They looked wrong. They curved and looped like the car had been swerving, and then, after 50 yards, they just stopped. Didn't turn around, didn't lead to a car, just ended like the car had been lifted straight up. 20 minutes later, I found the white Subaru 3 miles further up the road. Hazards flashing, driver's door open, keys in the ignition, empty. Honora Pell's phone was on the passenger seat, screen showing our disconnected call. Her purse was on the driver's seat, no sign of struggle. But on the driver's window, there was a handprint pressed against the glass from the outside. A large handprint, bigger than mine. The fingers were too long, stretched out like they'd been pulled. The next morning, when the sun was up, we searched again. That's when we found the tire tracks that had stopped in the desert more clearly. They weren't normal. The tracks curved back on themselves, forming a tight loop, the last few impressions overlapping the first ones. It looked like the car had driven in a circle and somehow folded in on itself. Emlyn stood there looking at them with an expression I'd never seen on him before. He'd been doing this job for 20 years, seen plenty of strange things in the desert, but this was different. "Tavin, this doesn't make any physical sense," he admitted. "A car can't leave tracks like this. The physics don't work." We brought in a tracking specialist from Alpine. He took measurements and photographs. His report concluded the tracks were genuine, made by a vehicle matching the Subaru's tires, but the pattern was inconsistent with normal driving. The loop-back formation suggested the vehicle had somehow traveled in 2 directions simultaneously, or had repeated the same path multiple times while only leaving 1 set of tracks. He recommended checking for drugs or a medical emergency, suggesting maybe Honora had hallucinated and wandered off. But that didn't explain the handprint. It didn't explain the radio call, her describing something walking backward. The search continued for 3 days. Helicopters, ground teams, dogs. We covered 100 square miles, found nothing. When I had to tell her mother what Honora had said about the figure, her face went pale. She told me that when Honora was 7, she'd woken up screaming, describing someone tall standing in her room watching her. They'd dismissed it as a nightmare. But Honora had described the same thing 27 years later. A figure that moved wrong, arms too long, watching but not approaching until it did approach. I still patrol those roads, and sometimes late at night, I see them. Tire tracks on the shoulder forming impossible loops, folding back on themselves. I stop, I photograph them, I report them. They're always there when I find them, and always gone by morning, smoothed over like they'd never existed. And twice now, I've gotten calls on the emergency channel. Different women, different locations, but the same story. Car broke down, something in the headlights walking backward, moving wrong. Both times I lost contact before I got there. Both times I found their cars empty, and at each scene, that large handprint on the window, fingers too long, pressed against the glass from the outside. Those of us who work these roads, who've seen the tracks and heard the calls and found the empty cars, we know there's something out here. Something that watches from the darkness, something that walks in ways that don't make sense, something that takes people who see it. I think about Honora Pell every time I work a night shift, wondering if she's still alive somewhere, or if she's still in that moment, frozen in time, watching something approach her car. Last week, I got another call. Same pattern. I drove harder than ever, found her car empty, found the handprint on the window. But this time, I found something else. Footprints in the dust beside the car. They were too large, the stride too long, leading away from the car into the desert. I followed them for 100 yards. They didn't waver. Then they changed. The impressions got lighter, shallower, like whatever was making them was losing weight. The last few prints barely registered, and then nothing. I stood there, looking at footprints that ended in the middle of nowhere, made by something that had walked away and then simply stopped being heavy enough to leave impressions. Something that had walked backward into the dark, carrying something or someone with it, until it stopped touching the ground entirely. I still work these roads, but now I know I'll never find them. They're not missing. They've been taken somewhere else, somewhere that doesn't leave tracks, somewhere that walks backward when it should walk forward, somewhere that comes for you when you're alone on a dark road with nothing but desert and silence. And when it comes, when you see it in your headlights and feel it tap on your window with fingers that are too long, you won't come back. None of them do. There are maybe 24 gas stations scattered across my patrol territory, and most of them close by 11 at the latest. The one on Highway 90 between Del Rio and Comstock is the exception. It's supposed to be open 24 hours, serving the few night drivers and truckers who use this road. I'm Detective Cade Hollowell, and I know every station, every rest stop. The quick stop on Highway 90 is the most reliable. Clean bathrooms, fresh coffee, and a guy named Briar Ellington who works the overnight shift. It was early March, cold, with freezing rain predicted. Around 2:30 in the morning, I decided to stop for coffee. Routine stop, the kind I'd made hundreds of times. The station sits alone, lights on, open sign glowing. I pulled in, parked by the front door, and went inside. Briar was behind the counter, reading a paperback. We chatted. I got my coffee, paid for it, and headed back to my cruiser. I was about to pull out when I noticed something odd. There was another highway patrol vehicle parked at the far end of the lot, partially hidden in shadow. I hadn't seen it when I arrived. I called dispatch, told the operator Torres what I was seeing. She came back after a moment. "Hollowell, I'm showing you as the only highway patrol in that area." The nearest unit was 40 miles north. I shined my spotlight on the vehicle, read the unit number. Torres paused, and her voice was strained when she returned. "Cade, that unit number was decommissioned 3 years ago. The vehicle was sold at auction." I felt that familiar prickle of wrongness. The vehicle was real, clean, well-maintained, but shouldn't exist. I got out and approached it. It was locked and empty. I walked around it, checking for anything, and decided to check the security cameras. I went back inside. Briar came into the back office and pulled up the footage. We scrolled back to 2:47 a.m. when I pulled in. We watched the footage. I pulled in, parked, got out, and walked inside. Then, I walked back out at 2:58, but there was no other vehicle in the frame. We scrolled back an hour. The lot was completely empty. I looked at the current live feed on the monitor. It showed my cruiser parked by the door, and nothing else. The space where the mystery vehicle was parked showed as empty on the camera. "Briar, come outside with me." We walked out together. I pointed at the patrol car, white, with Texas Highway Patrol markings, parked 30 yards away. Briar stared at the spot. "Cade, there's nothing there." I looked at him. I could see the cruiser clearly. I walked toward it and reached out, putting my hand on the hood, solid, cold metal under my palm. "I'm touching it right now," I insisted. Briar stared at my hand, which to him must have looked like it was resting on the empty air. "Cade, seriously, you're freaking me out." I pulled out my phone, took a picture of the cruiser, then looked at the image on my screen. The photo showed the parking lot, my hand extended, but no vehicle, just empty asphalt. I could see it, touch it, but cameras couldn't capture it, and Briar couldn't see it. That's when I noticed the time. My phone, my watch, my cruiser's clock, the store's wall clock all showed 2:58 a.m., and they weren't moving. The seconds were frozen. Briar checked his phone. His expression changed. "It's not moving. Why isn't it moving?" Then I heard it. An engine starting. I looked outside. The mystery cruiser's lights were on, engine running. I could hear it clearly, see the exhaust vapor, but Briar couldn't hear it, couldn't see the vehicle. I approached the car again. As I got closer, I saw someone in the driver's seat, a figure in a highway patrol uniform facing forward. I knocked on the window. No response. Then all at once, every clock started moving again. My watch ticked forward to 2:59. My phone updated. The cruiser's clock advanced, and the vehicle vanished. Not gradually, just gone. Instant. I was looking at empty air. Breyer ran out, confused, saying the time just skipped. I called dispatch. "What was the last time I checked in with you?" Torres replied, "Approximately 2:45. You've been off radio for about 14 minutes. According to my perception, only a minute had been skipped, but a full 11 minutes had vanished from the official timeline, all while time had been stuck at 2:58. Monroe Tate, my supervisor, arrived. When I told him the unit number was decommissioned, he made a call. That unit was assigned to a trooper named Samuel Vickers, Monroe said. "He's dead, Cade. Killed in the line of duty 3 years ago. The traffic stop went wrong 5 miles east of here. The call came in at 2:58 in the morning. By the time backup arrived, they found his cruiser running, but no Samuel. Never found him." The cold settled deeper. I looked at the spot where the mystery cruiser had been. I think I just saw him. We checked the security footage again. Monroe noticed what I'd missed. The time code jumped from 2:47:47 directly to 2:59, 11 minutes gone from the recording. The whole segment where I'd been interacting with the mystery cruiser was missing. Monroe confirmed that the timestamp on Samuel Vickers' dash cam the night he disappeared also stopped at 2:58. "Whatever happened to him," Monroe concluded, "I think it's still happening. I think he's stuck in it, some kind of loop maybe, stopping at this station over and over, always at 2:58. 6 months later, the phenomenon happens regularly, always at the same time, always with the same pattern. Time stops at 2:58. The cruiser appears for 11 minutes. I'm the only person moving in the world. Then everything jumps forward to 2:59. The cruiser vanishes, and nobody but me remembers it happened. I've tried to stop it, to photograph it, to talk to the figure. Nothing works. Samuel. Vickers is trapped in that minute, living it over and over. And every night at 2:58 I see him, Samuel Vickers, sitting in a cruiser that was sold 3 years ago, waiting for a shift to end that will never end. I still check my watch as the minutes tick closer to 2:58. I wait to see if tonight's the night I don't make it past 2:59, afraid I'll be the one behind the wheel, hands at 10 and 2, facing forward, trapped in a moment that keeps repeating while the world goes on without me. The fog comes off Lake Amistad at night and settles on Highway 277 like it's looking for a place to stay. It's thick, damp fog that hangs in layers. I'm Detective Loman Devo. I've been with the Texas Highway Patrol for 14 years, and for the last 6, I've been training new officers. Tonight was supposed to be a routine patrol with my partner, Shay Larimore, fresh out of the academy. It was mid-November, the fog was heavy, and we'd been driving for 2 hours when Shay pointed ahead. "There's someone up there driving really slow." We saw the hazy red taillights of an old sedan moving about 30 miles an hour in a 55 zone. It was drifting slightly, the kind of driving that suggests either impairment or extreme old age. I hit my lights, then the siren. No response. After a mile, the sedan still hadn't pulled over. I pulled alongside, close enough to look into the driver's window. An elderly man, 80 years old at least, white hair, weathered face, both hands on the wheel, eyes forward. He didn't look at us, didn't acknowledge our presence, just kept driving. I pulled in front and forced him to stop. I called it into dispatch. Shay and I approached the sedan. The old man, Ephraim Holt, was 87 years old. He looked at me slowly. "Officer, I need to see your license and registration, please." He fumbled in his worn leather wallet, his hands shaking. I took the driver's license. "Mr. Holt, do you know why I stopped you?" "Was I speeding?" "No, sir. The opposite. You were driving 30 in a 55 zone, and you didn't pull over when I signaled you with lights and siren." "I didn't see any lights." I glanced back at my cruiser. The light bar was still flashing, casting red and blue pulses through the fog. "Sir, the lights are right there." He looked past me at my vehicle, then back. "I don't see them, officer. I just see fog." Shay leaned down to my ear. "Lohman, check out the back seat." It was filled with old, hard-shell suitcases, 4 or 5 of them stacked carefully. "Mr. Holt, where are you heading tonight?" "North to see my daughter." "Where does she live?" "I'm not sure anymore. She moved, but I'll find her." I exchanged a look with Shay. This looked like an elderly person with diminished capacity. I asked him to step out. As he started to open his door, I noticed the tail light. The driver's side tail light was out. But I had been following this vehicle for miles, and I'd seen both taillights glowing clearly through the fog. "Mr. Holt," I called out, "when did your taillight burn out?" "Oh, that's been out for a while, a few weeks maybe." I called dispatch, asking them to run Ephraim Holt's information. While I waited, I asked him to open the trunk. More luggage was inside, along with photo albums and old documents. "You packed a lot for a visit." "I might stay a while. Don't know how long. Some of them were already packed. I keep them ready in case she calls, and I need to leave quickly." Dispatch came back. "Devo, showing no warrants on Ephraim Holt, but I'm seeing something odd. Address in Eagle Pass is flagged. Officers found the residence empty last week. Utilities shut off, no furniture. Neighbors said they hadn't seen the resident in months." "Mr. Holt, when did you leave Eagle Pass?" "This morning." "What day is it today?" He thought about it. "Thursday." "It's Sunday, Mr. Holt. November 17th. He insisted he'd left Thursday morning. When I asked about his daughter, Margaret, he smiled for the first time. "Margaret's wonderful. She needs me. When your child needs you, you go." Shay, looking in the trunk, whispered that the carpet liner had the permanent outline of the suitcases impressed into the fabric, not from one trip, but from years of them sitting in the same spot. I pressed him on how often he made these trips. "Every few weeks, usually, since she moved away from home." "Mr. Holt, when was the last time you actually saw Margaret, face to face?" He struggled with the answer, his hands shaking. There was Christmas, 2 years ago maybe, or 3. "What about since then? Do you remember actually seeing her, talking to her in person?" His face went through confusion, then fear, and finally despair. "I remember driving. I remember packing these suitcases and getting in the car and driving. I go to the addresses she gives me, but she's never there. I get to the address and knock on the door and strangers answer. So I drive to the next address and the next, and she's never there." The fog seemed to close in tighter. "Mr. Holt," I said quietly, "who lives in your house with you?" "No one. Not since Martha died. 5 years ago. Cancer." Then he said suddenly, "The lights," Mr. Holt said suddenly. "The ones that follow me. I think they're trying to tell me something." "What do you mean?" "They've been with me for a long time now. Red lights, always the same distance back. They never get closer, never pass, just follow." He claimed they guided him. "Away from the wrong addresses, toward the right ones. If I follow them, they lead me to the next address, the next place to look." "And do you ever find her at these next places?" "Not yet, but I will. The lights know where she is. They're helping me find her." "Mr. Holt, what do you think these lights are?" He looked at me with chilling clarity. "I think there are people like me, people who are looking for someone, people who keep driving because if they stop, they have to face the truth. And, the truth is too hard to face alone." Shay pulled me aside. We agreed we needed to get him medical help and contact his family. This was grief, raw and ancient, driving this man for years, chasing addresses and phone calls that might not even be real. We were about to act on that plan when Shay whispered, "Lohman, look at the dash." I looked through the windshield. The fog outside was heavy, but the dome light inside the sedan illuminated the space. There, across the dashboard, was a light coating of dust. And in that dust, as clear as if it were drawn with a finger, were two perfectly formed lines. Two parallel tracks, like miniature tire tracks, looping back tightly on themselves, just like the impossible tracks that Trooper O'Shea had found in the desert. They were fresh, precise, and had no beginning or end. They were just there, imprinted in the dust, inside the car of a man who didn't see our lights, whose tail light was both on and off, and who had been driving for 3 days inside a time frame that he thought was 3 hours. Shay was right. This was not just dementia. Okay, call for a transport. We'll take him to the hospital in Del Rio, get him checked out. But before Shay could make the call, Mr. Holt spoke up. Officer, there's something I need to tell you. I think someone's been following me. Following you how? In another car. They've been behind me for the last 100 miles. Every time I look in my mirror, they're there. Red lights, same distance. Never getting closer, never falling back, just following. I looked at the highway behind us, empty, just fog and darkness. I tried to explain it away, reflection, hallucination, but while I was thinking, I noticed the fog getting thicker, and in the thickening fog, a faint red glow appeared somewhere behind my cruiser. Shay saw it too, but when we walked back toward my car, there was nothing, just highway and fog. Mr. Holt sat back in his car, tired. They're always there, even when you can't see them. They won't let me get where I'm going. Where are you trying to go? To see my daughter? He struggled with her name. The EMTs arrived and took Mr. Holt for evaluation. While we waited for the tow truck, Shay and I talked. She pointed out the suitcases weren't just old-fashioned, they were ancient, and the clothes inside looked like they had been packed 50 years ago. By the time Martinez arrived with the tow truck, both taillights on the sedan were out. We watched the sedan get loaded and then continued our patrol. Around 5 a.m., the fog was finally thinning. Then Shay grabbed my arm. "Loman, slow down there, you see it?" Way ahead of us, through the fog, was a faint red glow, like taillights. It maintained its distance, always 50 yards ahead, never getting closer, never falling back. "This is like what Mr. Holt described," Shay whispered. We followed the glow for 3 miles. As we approached an overpass, the glow intensified, and for just a moment I saw it clearly. An old, dark-colored sedan, the same vehicle we'd just impounded. I accelerated, hitting 70, but it stayed 50 yards ahead. "Loman, this isn't possible." "I know." We followed it onto the overpass. The sedan ahead of us suddenly stopped, instantly. I slammed on my brakes. We stopped maybe 3 feet behind it. Its taillights were glowing bright red, but the entire rear of the vehicle seemed to be glowing. Then, the driver's door opened. A figure stepped out, tall, dark, no features I could distinguish. It stood beside the sedan, then turned and pointed, not at us, but past us. I looked in my rearview mirror. There was another sedan behind us, taillights glowing, driver's door open, another figure pointing. I looked left and right. On both sides of the overpass, parked on the narrow shoulders, were 5, 6, maybe 10 more identical sedans, all dark, all with glowing taillights, open doors, and figures standing beside them, all pointing at us. "Drive," Shay said. "Just drive." I steered around the stopped sedan and accelerated. As we passed it, I looked into the driver's window. Ephraim Holt was sitting behind the wheel, but his skin was translucent, like fog had gotten inside him, replacing his substance with vapor. I could see the outline of his skull, and in the back seat, where I'd seen those silhouettes, were 3 more figures, sitting perfectly upright, their presence fog-filled and empty. As we sped past each vehicle parked on the shoulders, they all held the same translucent driver and the same silent, still passengers in the back. The figure standing beside Mr. Holt's sedan watched us drive away, its arms still raised, still pointing. I realized it wasn't pointing at us. It was pointing the way forward, showing us where the road led, showing us what waited at the end of the drive. We drove until the fog swallowed the overpass, and they were gone. "We need to go back to the impound lot," Shay said. "I need to know if that car is still there." We drove back. The attendant led us to where Martinez had parked Mr. Holt's sedan. It was there. Same vehicle, same luggage. But the suitcases were open. The clothes that had been neatly folded were now scattered, like someone had been searching in a hurry. The car looked older, more worn. "Loman, look at this." Shay pointed at the driver's side door. A handprint, large, too large to be human, pressed into the dust. The fingers were elongated. Then, Shay noticed the odometer. It showed 487,392 miles, but as I watched, the numbers clicked over. 487,393, then 487,394. The miles were accumulating while the car sat motionless in the impound lot with the engine off. "It's still driving," Shay whispered. I opened the door and found the photograph on the seat. Young Margaret, 1962. I turned it over. Faded ink, barely legible. "Dad, I'm sorry I can't stay. I'm sorry you won't understand, but I'll be waiting for you when it's time. Love always. M." This wasn't a message about moving to a new town. This was a final goodbye. Ephraim Holt knew his daughter was gone, but he couldn't accept it. So he kept driving, following those lights that promised to lead him to her. Lights that were other people like him, people who lost someone, who couldn't let go, who kept driving long after they should have stopped. We stood there, looking at a car that was somehow still traveling, proof that grief could bend reality. "What do we put in the report?" Shay asked. "The truth," I said. "Elderly driver confused, transported for evaluation, vehicle impounded, standard procedure." It was a lie, the only truth anyone would believe. We both knew we couldn't document the impossible. We couldn't admit that we'd followed a ghost car full of ghosts to an overpass where dozens of them had been waiting, pointing the way forward. We'd write the safe version, and the truth would stay between us, unspoken, festering in the back of our minds. I still stop at the quick stop. I still get coffee from Briar. I still check my watch as the minutes tick closer to 2:58, and I wait to see if tonight's the night. I don't make it past 2:59. "Has anyone else looked at it tonight? Opened it up?" I asked the impound lot attendant. "Nope. Been locked since it got here." "Why?" "The suitcases are open. They were closed before." The attendant shrugged, suggesting maybe they hadn't been latched properly. But I knew better. Something had opened them, searching through decades of packed belongings for a memory it couldn't quite grasp. We left the lot, and I wrote up the incident report, making no mention of the impossible events on the overpass. 3 days later, I got a call from the hospital. Ephraim Holt had died, peacefully in his sleep. I attended the small funeral and learned the truth. His daughter Margaret had died of cancer 2 years ago. Ephraim had taken it hard. The family said he'd never stopped looking for her, calling them in the middle of the night, saying she needed help moving into a new house. They never found the house he was driving to because Margaret had lived in Dallas, nowhere near Highway 277. But in his mind, he was trying to recreate a long-ago camping trip with her. Margaret's cousin pulled me aside. She told me Ephraim had mentioned the lights toward the end. He said there were others like him on the road, others who were looking for people, and they helped each other keep going. She confessed that after her own husband died, she would get in the car and just drive, and sometimes, late at night, she'd see those same cars driving the same direction, keeping pace. So yes, officer, I believed him. I believe there are lights out there for people like us. Maybe that's mercy in a way. I didn't tell her I'd seen those lights too. The service ended and I went back to work. We didn't talk about what we'd seen, but I couldn't stop wondering about those other drivers, the translucent ones. Were they aware of what they'd become, or were they still trapped in that moment of searching? 2 weeks after the funeral, I was on patrol again, another foggy night. Around 3:00 a.m. I saw them, taillights, red and distant, moving at exactly my speed on Highway 277 heading north. Always 50 yards ahead, just out of clear sight in the fog. I followed the lights for 30 miles, and they led me straight to the overpass. The lights stopped right at the center of the bridge. I drove onto the overpass and pulled up behind the waiting vehicle. The car was old, dark, but the license plate was different. The driver's door opened and a figure stepped out. An elderly woman, thin and stooped, wearing a coat from the 1970s. In the ambient light, I could see that translucent quality, that fog-filled emptiness where a solid person should be. I should have been afraid, but I rolled down my window and waited. She came to my door, her voice thin and distant. "You saw him," she said. "Ephraim. You were there when he crossed over. You stopped him. You talked to him. You listened to his story." "That's more than most people do." "Are you lost?" I asked. Like Ephraim was lost. Like all of us are lost. We're the ones who couldn't let go. And now we can't stop. We just keep going, following the road, waiting for someone to tell us it's okay to finally rest. She told me she was looking for her son, who went to Vietnam 50 years ago and never came home. This woman had been driving for half a century, a ghost made of grief and obsession. What happened to Ephraim after that night? She smiled, that sad, genuine smile. He found her. Margaret was waiting right here on this bridge. She'd been waiting for years, knowing he'd come eventually, and when he finally understood, she took him with her. They went together to wherever it is we go when we're finally done driving. She told me her name was Dorothy Chen and asked me to remember them. She walked back to her car, the door closed with a soft click, and the engine started, though I knew there was no engine in that vehicle anymore. Her tail lights glowed bright red in the fog, and then she was gone. Not driving away, just gone. I sat there for a long time. Part of me is still on that bridge between the world I know and the world where grief becomes literal. I still patrol that stretch of highway, and I still see them sometimes, late at night when the fog rolls in. Tail lights glowing red in the mist, always the same distance ahead. And I know that someday, when I'm old and tired and ready to stop, I'll follow those lights. I'll drive onto that overpass and find them all waiting for me. The ones who got lost. The ones who keep driving, keep following the lights, keep hoping that around the next turn, they'll finally reach whoever they've been looking for. And maybe they do. Maybe that's what the lights are for. To lead you somewhere else. Somewhere beyond the fog and the highway, somewhere you can finally stop driving and rest. I keep Ephraim's photograph in my glove box, and I wonder if when I'm old and ready to stop, if those red lights will come for me too. If I'll follow the light that never goes out, the one that's always there, always waiting, always 50 yards ahead in the fog, leading us home.